What's up? Welcome back to the garage and building my first knife part 2. You know, I didn't say this in the first video, but I'm trying to do this, build this knife with like the minimal amount of tools I can. So, you know, instead of a bench vise, I got 2 clamps, got files, a hacksaw. You know, after this I'll get some other tools and it makes it nice easier. I just want to, you know, build one the hard way the first time and see how it is. Have a little appreciation for all the work that the power tools do. So I did go ahead and sand this down. They got this blade to 600 grit right now, up to here anyway. The handle will cover up the rest, so I just, you know, I did the outside and the top of it. I did do a little research. I think this kind of knife is kind of like a mixture between like a drop point and like a Tonto blade. I could be wrong, so if I am, let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the video of me sanding this blade, and then we'll jump straight into drilling these holes for the pins and the handles, and then we'll be back after that. Alright, so we got the holes drilled and we got it all sanded as you saw, and now we're ready for the heat treat. I think that's the next step. I don't know, it's all guesswork. So got a couple blow torches and some canola oil in a paint can and we're just gonna heat it up. And we got this magnet, so I guess what you do is you heat it up until it doesn't stick anymore, because once the metal gets up to about 1475 degrees, the magnet doesn't stick to it anymore. So we want to get a little above that, so we're going to heat it up till the magnet doesn't stick anymore, and then dunk it in the canola oil. We're actually going to try to preheat the canola oil up to 130 degrees. I don't know, I was on a knife forum and that's what people were saying to do if you don't have like actual high-speed quenching oil. So this is the way we're going to do it, and I hope it turns out well. And I'm just going to use this little like kitchen thermometer to try to get the canola oil up to temperature. All right, let's see how it goes. So, looks like we got it hardened here. Seems to pass the file test. You know, when you scratch it down here, it seems to bite in a lot more. I don't think it's like the best job for sure, but it seemed to work. And when I was actually heating the blade up there, my contact fell out, and so I was trying to do it with like one contact in and no depth perception, and so I didn't know if I got a good heat on the blade, so I went ahead and did it again, and I got it all nice cherry red from about here back, and I think it worked out okay. I guess we'll see once we start to use it if it holds an edge or not. So I'm gonna go put it in the oven and temper it at 400 degrees for about an hour. All right, let's go. Okay, we got it hardened and tempered decently, I hope, and I guess time will tell with that if it'll hold an edge. Now we gotta polish the blade, get all this scale off, get it to a finish that we like, and put on the handle scales and the pins and epoxy it, shape the handle, and finish it all off. yeah, so finally got the knife done, and it took about a month, but it was pretty fun. I learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes. This knife is not by any means perfect. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a lot of scratches right here, and I got some scratches on the blade when I was sharpening it. The handle turned out real well. I really like this bloodwood, and I used boiled linseed oil and then just paste wax, as you saw in the video. And if you're using boiled linseed oil, be careful, because that stuff, if you wad it up, if you like take paper, your rag and wad it up, throw it in the trash, it can start on fire. If you're going to use boiled linseed oil, lay the rags out like this, or you can burn them up if you have a fireplace or a fire pit or a pot like this that you can, or a pot that you can dump them in and burn up the rags in. Be careful though, don't start anything on fire. I have a fire extinguisher with me. Or you can put them in a pot of water and put a lid on it, and that way nothing's going to start on fire. Anyway, just be careful with the boiled linseed oil. So this is about everything that I used to make this knife, apart from this piece of metal over here and a ton of sanding paper. Have extra sanding paper of all different grits. If you think you got enough, you probably don't, unless you're experienced. Yeah, and this is what I used to sharpen the knife. It's just a cheap whetstone, and it worked pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty sharp. Sharp enough to cut my finger pretty good as I was sharpening it. I didn't even feel it, just looked down and there was a chunk of my skin off. And yep, that's an Angry Birds Band-Aid. My son picked those out. If you want to know where I got this, the tools and the stuff that I'm building this, some of it I had, some of it I got off Amazon, some of it the local hardware store. But I'll leave links in the description down below to stuff that I found. I kind of searched around for the best deals. You could probably find better. So a few things that I learned when making this knife that might help the beginning knife maker is, don't wrap your sandpaper around a file. It's nice and flat and smooth, and it's got some hard edges, which is nice, but there are other things that you can use, like pieces of wood, sanding blocks. There's videos out there. I ended up scratching this blade with the file a couple times, and it cost me an hour extra sanding, which is frustrating, so don't do that. I don't know if you noticed, but I sanded and ground this handle down a lot before I actually glued it on. Leave extra room, and I actually ended up having to take off some of this metal because the scales that I ordered were actually too small. Extra wood, just leave extra wood on the handle until you get down to the fine tuning. When you epoxy your handle on, or glue it, wherever you attach it, I didn't clean the epoxy out up here enough. I thought I had wiped it away and got it enough, but I didn't, and I ended up having to go back and with a tiny little screwdriver and clean it off, and now it's all scratched up right there on the ricasso. And so just make sure you clean off as much epoxy. So that's it for this video. Trying to get better at making these, have them be more entertaining, and so hopefully this one is better than the first. If you have any advice on knife making, if you see me doing something wrong, go ahead and let me know down below in the comments. And if you have any advice on making videos, same thing. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe, or don't. It's up to you. But have a great day.